Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. So today I am joined by Zim. Is it Zim Whodey? Is that what you go by?
Yeah,
Zim
my friends
Whodey.
just call me Zim
Yeah,
on the
I'll
internet.
do Zim to make it a bit easier.
Yeah, yeah, call
Gonna
me Zim,
prove.
bro.
We're gonna preview the Browns Week 1 matchup with the Bengals. Despite being a Bengals fan, Zim is actually one of, if not my favourite Bengals accounts on Twitter. Anyone that knows Zim knows how passionate he is about his team. And as someone that has a very similar, unapologetic approach to my fandom with my team, I'm actually a big fan of how you go about your fandom on Twitter. I think it is a breath of fresh air, shall we say, amongst what you see a lot of Twitter nowadays. So it's a pleasure to have you on to talk some Browns and Bengals. But before we get started, thank you for lending me your time. How are you doing, and how excited are you that the NFL is finally back?
Man, I'm very, very appreciative of you reaching out, man. I think you understand me. I think a lot of people in today's climate, they take everything so personal a lot. And, I think I represent, like, what an old school, I know I'm not the oldest. I'm kind of old, but not old. But I kind of represent what, like, fandom used to be, where it's not really about, like, it has nothing to do with you as a person. I might talk about how bad I think the Browns are, or, all these different things. And I think a lot of people just take it the wrong way. And I'm really, really happy to hear, like, you still appreciate, like, the content. Because if you really, really pay attention too, I feel like a lot of times I am complimentary of, like a Myles Garrett. I am complimentary of in years past when the Browns had the best offensive line in football, I thought, or Callahan and art. But what people do is they block out all of that stuff, and they only pay attention to what they want to pay attention to. And I think it's really cool that you're able to kind of identify, like, it's not personal. It's just, this is what I came
Yeah.
on here with one goal to give people information on my favorite team, and I hope others do the same thing. Like, when I'm no longer doing this, I hope that they carry on the same thing. I don't know if you noticed this trend. It's like people are looking for acknowledgement and love so much on the internet that they'll go out of their way to, like, stroke off other teams that they know they don't even like. And I'm like, I'm just not like, I'm not a fake person like that. I love people, but I hate all your teams.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I think that's a great way of summing it up. I mean, as much as I can sit here and call you guys Kentucky, I can, all of that stuff. In the end of the day, as you said, that's got nothing against any Bengals fan. Most Bengals fans I've met have been more than graceful with me, especially as someone that's a UK NFL fan. You can imagine I get a lot of the "what on earth are you doing following our sport" kind of stuff, and I've never really had that from the Bengals. So, as I said, I appreciate what you do for your side, and I try to somewhat replicate that for the Brown side. Yes, we like to talk a little bit of trash. Do we? We
A
talk on the
little
internet.
bit.
We talk on the internet. Do we do a little bit of the clickbaity stuff? Of course, we try and get our point across. Everyone has to when you talk on the internet. But as I said, it's good to see someone that is genuinely passionate about their team. So that's why I wanted to get you on. But going into this game, moving into the battle for Ohio, this rivalry always makes me laugh, to be honest, because it's the only AFC North rivalry for me as a Browns fan where it feels like every time we play, both teams actually feel pretty confident, no matter what the record is. I can't really say that about the Ravens and the Steelers from a Browns perspective. Do you feel similar, or do you think that's Browns fans just kind of rating themselves a bit too much?
Overall, the Bengals have the overall record. I think I have a theory. The Browns don't really have bragging rights on any of those teams in any regard. So when they went on their streak to win those games, like in between, even if it was the Bengals sitting guys before the playoffs, even if it was Joe Burrow with a hurt calf, like, they didn't care, right? And a win is a win, you know what I mean? And so I've been operating the same way, and I'll be quick to tell you that the Bengals have won 4 out of the last 5 games.
Yep.
Now, you might say, well, we were sitting, like, I don't care. You know, like the same way that people treat me on the internet or same way they treat me in football discourse, I just dish it right back out to them. So I don't think it's as close as Browns fans think it is. Particularly from a roster standpoint, like now, I think that Browns are in a different situation. I think the Bengals are in a situation right now where the pressure of you have a top 3, top 4 quarterback, you need to go win. I think the Browns have time. They have all these quarterbacks. They got all these different situations that probably you can give me way more insight to, where they're pretty much playing with house money, so to speak. But I do think that the Browns do put a lot of pressure on themselves by talking all this shit about the Bengals and how they're going to win. And I have a lot of receipts on your fan base right now. So I will pull the trigger on this shit if we win this game.
It's weird.
I think they put a lot of pressure on themselves.
I mean, it's weird because, you know, I feel pretty confident about this one, even though, you know, as you said, we're in completely different places. You know, you could argue that the pressure's on the Bengals because, you know, after kind of the lackluster starts they've had the last few years, going up against a division rival week 1 that, as you said, we're kind of just playing with house money. You would argue that the pressure is more on the Bengals, but, you know, you mentioned it. I mean, the Browns are 6-4 against the Bengals under Stefanski, 4-1 at home. But as you also mentioned, you have won 3 of the last matchups, 3 of the last 4, which obviously included last season's season sweep. So,
four out of the last 5.
4 out of the last 5, which one of those was us resting some guys. So we'll have to give that on both sides as well. But moving on to the actual game itself and the Bengals, what area of the Bengals team do you think has improved most from last year? Whether that's guys you've brought in or, you know, expecting jumps from guys, what area do you think is going to be the most improved?
That's a great question. I know this is going to sound a little crazy. I just think that them solidifying the wide receiver stuff before the season, like last year, it was a lot, man. Going to the home opener, it was like we weren't even sure Jamar Chase was going to play. I was at a tailgate and he was warming up and everybody's like, oh my God, he's warming up. Like, people don't remember, like, it was almost like he might try to sit out, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, like, he didn't practice. He didn't do anything with the team. T. Higgins gets hurt on the Friday. T. Higgins had an interview yesterday. We was talking about that. He was like, man, I feel so great. The whole game plan was around T. Higgins. He gets hurt on a Friday right before the game. So they scrapped the whole plan. Then we got to go play the Patriots. We only scored 10 points with the most vanilla game plan of all time. I'm only saying that is because, T. Higgins is then, you know, he's hurt. Jamar Chase is crashing out because he doesn't have a contract. It was just so much going on. He does win a Triple Crown. But I'm going to tell you, bro, this offseason, Andre Yoshivas has come back looking like he could play wide receiver 2 on at least 50% of the NFL. I kid you not. And I don't know how they're going to get him the ball because of Gesicki and then them now signing Noah Fant. I look at Gesicki as a wide receiver as well too. I don't really look at him as a tight end. He doesn't block. He only lines out, like he only flexes out. He doesn't line in line to the formation at all. So, and then you had Burton with a real good camp, and then you got this guy Tinsley who went crazy in preseason. I was at the Commanders game. He had 2 touchdowns in that game. So now our wide receiver 4-5 is like insane. You're talking about Joe Burrow now strengthening up the offensive line. That is going to be the craziest take I think you've ever heard. But I do think the wide receivers got better. But if I'm being a little bit more politically correct, I'm going to say the defensive line, Shamar Stewart is something that the Bengals haven't had since maybe Carlos Dunlap.
Yep.
He has flashed more in OTAs in 2 weeks. But like I guess he's been at OTAs 3-4 weeks now. But his first 2 weeks, I kid you not, he flashed more than the 2 years of Miles Murphy, another first round edge. So the Bengals do have talent. It's just you got to think we solidified all this stuff on offense, right? This is the part that everybody misses. We did all this stuff on offense. We knew who our wide receivers are. We knew who our center was. We know who our left tackle. We know. So think about it. We went to the draft and just drafted a lot of defense.
Yeah.
So if you look on our roster, it's a second-round corner, first-round safety, first-round edge, second-round D tackle. Everybody in there, those are all premium picks. The D tackle last year was hurt at the beginning of the season, just like I was talking about T. Higgins.
Yeah.
Chris Jenkins played the whole season hurt. He's now coming off. I thought he had the best camp out of everybody. So put him with Shamar. And then, Trey Hendrickson just had 17 and a half sacks with nobody on the other side. People talk about Sam Hubbard like whatever. Bengals fans, for the last 2 years, Sam Hubbard has sold like $18 million from us. He's done nothing. He's a solid run defender, but he doesn't offer anything in the pass rush game.
Yeah.
So Trey Hendrickson has done a lot of this on his own. I think the D tackle, we also bolstered it up. The biggest all-season signing for the Bengals is T.J. Slayton that we got from the Green Bay Packers. The signing reminds me a lot of DJ Reader. Under the radar, number one run stop rate in the National Football League from the Packers. I had a Packer fan tell me that they thought that he was better than Kenny Clark, who was just traded last week or whatever for Micah Parsons. This dude is a house. Joe Burrow at the practice said that guy's going to be a future captain. He's going to be like one of the best players, like maybe on the team. Taking on double teams with that, and then now you can allow Logan Wilson and guys to play free, Trey Hendrickson to go eat. I think the D tackle room is going to surprise a lot of people. And if they get a lead, look out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of talk about the Bengals defense from national media, from Browns fans, whatever. And I think the biggest thing for me, I mean, I've not been quite as, I think the edge, you're fine, shall we say. I mean, I was a big fan of Shamar Stewart coming out of Texas A&M, got a lot of flack because, you know, everyone likes to do that. We only had 3 sacks in his college career. Everyone likes to look at that stuff. I was a big fan of his coming out, was really annoyed that you guys got him, was, of course, rejoicing over the whole contract dispute stuff. But, you know, all of the talk, and fast forward to 2 days out from week 1, Shamar Stewart, as you said, he's signed. He's looking good. Trey Hendrickson, he's back. He's signed. He's playing. He's kind of on a contract year, I suppose, with it obviously only being the kind of thing. So I don't think this Bengals defense is as bad as the national media are saying. But for me, if I was to sit here before this conversation and look at where I think the Browns could attack this Bengals defense would be in the run game. So for you to obviously bring up those points does concern me slightly more, because that was something that I wasn't really thinking about. Obviously, you lost Jermaine Pratt this offseason. How much of a big loss is that, losing your green dot holder? But you mentioned the offense as well. You know, that is the one thing that no matter what team going up against the Bengals, that's what terrifies you. You know, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Gesicki, Noah Fan, all of these guys, as you said, even the guys behind them, having good camps and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what they do on defense, what they do anywhere else on the team. That offense is terrifying, no matter what team you are. So should we expect the same Joe Burrow this year that we've seen, or do you think with the kind of, you know, as you said, the kind of other guys stepping up, do you think we're going to see an even better Joe Burrow, which of course for me is terrifying to imagine?
Yeah. I really do. This is the first all season that he had healthy. All those other all seasons are all about he had an appendectomy. He had a calf strain. He had a ACL recovery every time. This is the first all season that he had like a real legit, you know, all season. And one thing I know about Joe Burrow is he relies on reps. So even him playing in the preseason, it was reps. When he gets more reps under his belt, I think he's the best quarterback in football. Now, that if someone told me Lamar is better, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes is better, I wouldn't argue with it, because to me it's a perception thing, right? Or it's a perspective on what you value. I just think right now, at this very moment, with these weapons, I don't know how long the Bengals will be able to have T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase all together, right? Because at the next stage of his career, you got to think they got to go focus more on the offensive line, go into the Tom Brady mode.
Yep.
Right now, this moment, this is his Peyton Manning, like, he's calling it. Like, whatever you think, if Myles Garrett is over here on the right-hand side, we're not going over there. We're going this way. If Denzel Ward right there, we're not going there. He's got the full reins to Peyton Manning every single decision that you want to make. He will find the matchup every single time. The one thing I will say, and I've said this plenty of times, I feel like Joe Burrow's played his worst games ever against the Cleveland Browns. So that is one thing I think, if in the back of your mind, if you're a Bengals fan, you got to be realistic to understand that there are threats there. And Myles Garrett, to me, gets the ultimate respect over any other player in the National Football League. Like, I'll tell a Steelers fan so quick, I don't even think it's a conversation. I really don't.
You.
As far as TJ Watt, it's not. It's really not. If you were going to start up a team in a fantasy football draft right now, and you were picking players, TJ Watt would be like non-quarterback. TJ Watt probably be like 10th, 11th on my list. Myles Garrett will be. I would have to make a decision between Myles Garrett, Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, and maybe Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
And depending on how you want to build a team, you're going to say Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is a generational player that you don't really see in the NFL that often. He's built like LeBron James, you know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where it's like, if I'm realistic to understand that gives Joe Burrow problems, I'm also realistic to also understand that the Bengals have done things to try to counter that. Amarius Mims, I thought, did really good against them last year. Also, you got Orlando Brown on the other side. So there's all these different things that I think the Bengals have done to try to counter some of the things that in the division, primarily like guys like Myles Garrett. So when I say that, I think Joe Burrow is going to go crazy. Yeah, on the rest of the NFL, being realistic, I don't know how good he's going to look on Sunday because he's never really carved you up like I want to carve you up. Like when I play a team, rookie Joe Burrow versus Baker Mayfield, those are some good ones. But like, there are other teams that he's absolutely, I'm talking about, obliterated. So I don't think it looks like that, but for the whole season, yeah. If you're not used to playing Joe Burrow, it's over for you. That's truly how
I think that's a great point, is that a lot of these teams that come in that aren't familiar, shall we say, with the Bengals as much as the Browns are, that, you're going to allow Joe Burrow to sit there and basically pick you apart, then he is going to do that. I mean, you mentioned it, he's one of the best in the league. It does annoy me, but that you guys, the one year you bottom out in the last decade, you get Joe Burrow. And all of the years that we've bottomed out, we've never had a Joe Burrow waiting for us in the draft. They're ready, but you mentioned it. He has.
It gives me great joy to hear you say that.
I can imagine. But you mentioned that he's of course struggled, shall we say, somewhat against the Browns. Is that entirely the offensive line? And obviously this year, they're still getting the same kind of criticisms that they've been getting the last few years. Do you think this O-line is improved, and do you think they can hold up against the Browns in this game somewhat?
Yes and yes. I do think that the Bengals' offensive line has improved a lot. Fairchild, who we just drafted, has been the best-looking left guard that we've had in a very, very long time. Guard position we were kind of skeptical on. Even at right guard, our depth is Dalton Reisner. Like our depth piece, not even starting.
Yeah.
So, I just don't this is the best offensive. The Bengals are in a win the whole thing mode. They are not paying attention to anything that anybody is saying online. Like, they're not making the playoffs and all this other. I'm here to tell you, last year, I understand there are no excuses. They did not make the playoffs. No excuses for me. You just didn't make it. I will also throw out, I don't think that you're going to see another season where a team scores 33 points and loses 4 of those games. I really don't.
Yeah.
And then I don't, all of those games, they're all one-score losses. All of them. And the only team that beat them by more than 10 points or 7 points or whatever was the Super Bowl champion Eagles. And in that game, the Bengals had a lead in the third quarter. Yeah. So, to me, I just think that the offensive line has gone above and beyond what I thought that they could. They just extended Teddy Karras earlier today. We're filming this. Eastern time, my time, 10:30, 10:40 something. They just signed him about an hour ago to another extension. So like all these different things that people have said about them, they're like cooking all of these all of that conversation one by one. They were called cheap. They signed everybody this all season. They retained everybody. They extended guys. This is Ted Karras' third contract with the Bengals.
Yeah. Yeah, and it couldn't have happened to a better guy as well. I mean, Ted Karras is a great human being, a great representative of the Bengals. So happy for him, of course, the NFLPA president as well, isn't he? So great for him. I mean, as you said, everyone can talk, everyone can throw jokes about it, but I think the Bengals are better than people are giving them credit. I think they've made the moves in the places that they had to make the moves. So I expect them to be a very tough game against the Browns. But quickly on the Browns before we do finish, with all the talk obviously about the Browns quarterback battle this summer, you guys have Joe Burrow, but we of course have Joe Flacco. Is he the guy that you would have least wanted to see week one out of all of those Browns quarterbacks if you were pressed on it, if you were to be honest?
Damn, that's another great question. Because part of me feels as though, like, I want to see one of those rookies, and I think I could, like, rattle them up, show them different looks, not even necessarily blitz them, just, like, show them a lot of looks, capitalize on Shador holding the ball too long if he were the guy, like, capitalize on just, The other part of me feels like Joe Flacco is not mobile enough to, like, Shamar Stewart. Like, to me, this is one thing I have considered. Say the Bengals make mistakes, and then because that's the only way I could feel like the Browns could, get a lead or a sizable lead, right? I could see Flacco just like getting hot, and then like, like the DBs for the Bengals like getting demoralized or something like that, and you got miscommunication because there's a lot of new parts. And I think Joe Flacco will be the guy to capitalize on it. So I think I wouldn't have mind seeing any of the three, but. To answer your question, he would be the least because I know that he'll throw the damn ball like wherever. He doesn't give a damn. Like, and so that you need that, Yeah. So I think long term, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm not interested in seeing Joe Flacco. And the only reason why I say this is because you don't want to go into 2026 saying like, well, we don't even know what we have from Shador. We don't know what we have from whatever. Remember the Steelers did that with Kenny Pickett. He got hurt at the end of the season, and then they went into the season. They were like, well, we don't know. We don't have a big enough sample size. You got to kill all of those arguments. And there are going to be people that are going to be like, oh, well, you don't want to throw them into the fire. Yes, the hell I do. I want to see what you're made of. Just because you throw somebody into the fire doesn't mean that they're not going to make mistakes. You could bench them and then come back to them later on. They did that to Bryce Young. And so to me, if I'm a Browns fan, I get it, I'm not, but if I am, I'd be very interested in seeing those guys so I get that conversation out the way. You don't want the dialogue, you don't want the locker room split up, you don't want people picking sides. You want it very clear and concise at the end of the season. Dylan is good, Shador is not, Flacco's you want all that clear so when you go into the draft, you know what time it is.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I was someone that was on this channel. I mean, I was arguing for Kenny Pickett to start, a couple of months ago because in the end of the day, Flacco's 40 years old. As good as he is, he doesn't answer any questions long term. You mentioned the throw into the fire. I mean, these are two rookies that have, and I understand the concept of it, but these are two guys that have played more college games than nearly any prospect that's ever come out of college. Obviously, Dylan, I think, played the most games out of any college quarterback in college history. So, it's not like you're throwing an Anthony Richardson out there and, just expecting something to work. I agree with you. I would like to see the rookies obviously play this year to just, as you said, answer those questions. But one final question on the.
Hold on, let me ask you about Anthony Richardson. Do you think you all would be interested in like an Anthony Richardson?
I think we will, purely because Andrew Berry is obsessed with throwing darts at former first-round picks. If they were given a possibility, the opportunity, and it didn't really cost them much, I think they'd do it. But I just don't think it fits into the current timeline.
I would send him. I would capitalize on. This is one thing. I'm gonna give you a couple hot takes. I would want Anthony Richardson to back up Joe Burrow, only on the strength of, I think, the tush push, and as long as that, I'm all about capitalizing on whatever the rule books like are allowing you to do. I want parts in that, right? I think Anthony Richardson as like a backup for Joe Burrow would be insane, right? But let's take that away. When Shador, I have a concept on quarterbacks. I wrote this article a long time ago. I used to work for Locked On Bengals. I used to write for them. I wrote this article. It's called the 10 Draft Commandments, but it talks about what the Patriots used to always do: use quarterbacks as assets.
Yep.
And as soon as somebody gets hurt, they're going to call, right? And you can move them. It might be like a safety. It might be a guard. You could get late round picks. They're assets. When Shador fell down the board, I was tweeting out, I think the Bengals should get him because and this is another hot take. His playing style is a lot like Joe Burrow.
Yep.
People don't realize this. Like he'll never be Joe Burrow. I'm not saying that.
No.
But accuracy is his calling card.
Yep.
And holding on and extending plays to find the best read, he just doesn't know the right way to do it. If I put him behind Joe Burrow, he would come out there and he'd be ready to start for somebody. But in the current climate that he's in, I don't think he's going to have the resources to ever be like what I think he could be. Like, I think he could be an average quarterback in the NFL. But if he were backing up Burrow, I thought that would have been a perfect situation. He probably watches Joe Burrow film. If you watch his drop back and a lot of the stuff that he does, he plays a lot like what he thinks that Joe Burrow would do, I guess. But you know what I mean? So I think like him as an asset and moving him. If I were you guys, this is my third hot take, I would move Shador, Dylan. I would get those guys are going to give you problems in my mind, like because it's the Andy Dalton effect. Like they'll show you good, they'll show you bad. And then you're like stuck. I would go get a guy like Anthony Richardson, just a lot like how the 49ers. If you put the right, like I was going to reference like Kaepernick, if you put the right system behind a guy like that. It might not look sexy. You saw Jalen Hurts last night. It wins games. Like just move the ball. The difference, Anthony Richardson can't check down like Jalen Hurts. And check down. Yeah, like he doesn't know how to check down. He just bombs it. But you have Thrash and guys like that can just go down the field and just throw bombs to him. And Cedric Tillman's like that too. Like you could just throw bombs to him. And I think it would work. And then I would still draft the quarterback.
Yeah. Lenoris Sellers. I mean, if you wanted like for like, but I mean, it's a great point because I think there's a common misconception, especially with Kevin Stefanski and his offense, that he doesn't want a running quarterback. He doesn't want someone that can move around. I don't think that's the case at all. As long as you can operate within structure, it doesn't really matter what else you can offer. You can work in the Kevin Stefanski offense. So whether that's Anthony Richardson, whether that's a Lenoris Sellers next year, I don't think because you can run, that automatically disqualifies you from a Kevin Stefanski offense. And I think that kind of applies to the Joe Burrow thing as well, the comparison, because, a lot of people, I compare Joe Burrow, well, not Joe Burrow to these people, but people to Joe Burrow. Someone like a CJ Stroud, as you mentioned, a Shedeur Sanders. I was even making some comparisons with a Deshaun Watson when we first brought Deshaun Watson here, and some of the ways that he likes to play that is similar to a Joe Burrow in terms of extending plays. So I think that there's this kind of misconception that just because a player might be good at one thing or might be known for one thing, that means they can't do another thing or they can't operate within this. And I think Joe Burrow is someone that because he's a white pocket passer, there's this idea that he's just going to stand there like a statue, like a Tom Brady, when he plays as different from a Tom Brady as maybe, someone like a Geno Smith or someone like that. So I do think we get those misconceptions quite a lot. But finally, on the Browns, they obviously are going back to their bread and butter on offense with Kevin Stefanski, more of a West Coast scheme, further away from what they were trying to do with Deshaun Watson the last couple of years. Do you think that raises their floor as an offense? Do you, we obviously saw them bottom out last year with the offense they were trying to run. Do you think going back to what they do in terms of running the ball, play action, does that rate, not just the Browns, but does that raise a team's floor as an offense?
I think it depends on the quarterback itself. Like, if it doesn't hinder what they're trying to do, then no. I think for Flacco, it's going to work. Like, I'm one of the few people. I think you win. I think your over/under is like 5.5 and 6.
Yeah.
I think you guys win like 6-7 games. Like I think that a lot of it depends too also on the health of like some of the offensive line. Like I think like some of those guys are like older and longer in the tooth now, like Batonio and Teller and all these guys like that. They aren't the same to me.
No.
But if they can hold up, I think that you can win a good amount, and I think you can run whatever you want to run. But if they're not there and Flacco start to be an asshole towards those guys, and like then that's where it could go left, and then you start talking 3-4 wins. You're talking about tanking at that point. So I think as long as like that happens, then the cornerback spot, it's kind of tough because the Emerson one, I think in years past you would say, well, we'll put Emerson on T. I don't know who the hell y'all gonna put on T Higgins, honestly, but
I think we might have to put Grant on him. Grant Delpit is the only one I can think of. I mean, we currently don't actually have a nickel, so that is a slight concern.
T is too good of a route runner for any safety. And then I just told you about Yoshivas and stuff like that with no nickel. Like, I'm telling you, I was watching film. It was like a Ravens game. He probably only had like 3-4 targets. He was killing them. Like, but we had Jamar. Jamar went like he had like 200 yards. But Yoshi in that game was killing them. And I was like, this is one of the better cornerback groups, like in the NFL. And I was like, bro, like teams right now, like I'm telling you, if the Bengals defense get to like top 20, they'll be straight. But going back to what you're saying, I just think that Flacco in that system, I think can do what you need to do, keep games manageable, make the easy decisions. Don't try to throw too many in between 2-3 guys just because whatever. Manage the game, and then also forward staying healthy. See what Sampson's got it's like Sampson's like your scat back, right?
Yeah.
So like if you can utilize him in the pass game, dump it off and get him out in space, like simple stuff like that.
Hopefully get Quinshon back.
I didn't bring out. Yeah, you need him. I didn't bring out Chase Brown at all. I think Chase Brown. I think that's the guy. I think is gonna have a big game.
He's getting a lot of love I've seen from the fantasy kind of crowd and their community. I think they're expecting him to have a big year. But just to touch on it finally
he's my only Bengal. He's my only Bengal. On my
in your fantasy? Wow. Okay. Yeah. But just to touch on it finally, because you mentioned it there. I mean, it is the biggest thing that concerns me this game is the Browns corners going up against those wide receivers, because the Browns obviously lost Emerson. Denzel Ward, in my opinion, is top 5. But there's only so much you can do. As you mentioned, Joe Burrow can just not throw to Denzel Ward. As much as Denzel Ward can sit there in an interview and say, hey, Joe, throw to me, that doesn't mean he's going to throw to him. So you can just eliminate him essentially from the game, and that leaves Greg Newsome, and we start getting down to guys like Cam Mitchell, Miles Harden. That's my biggest concern for the game. And I think if the Bengals are going to win this and win this convincingly, I'm going to be sat there after the game talking about how those wide receivers just carved up that cornerback room. I think that is going to be the biggest thing. But finally, before I let you go, of course...
Don't feel bad. That's the same thing I'm going to be saying every damn week to everybody's cornerback room.
Do
not feel bad.
True. You're not wrong. They will be doing that to a lot of teams this year, not just the Browns. But
I think before I let you... 5,000 yards.
Yeah, before I let you go, this is a preview, so I, of course, have to finish it off with your prediction for the game, whether that's a straw prediction, whatever. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm kind of superstitious, so I'm not going to give you a score prediction.
That's fine. I don't like doing straws either.
I don't like it. I like the Bengals in this game. I do think that they win comfortably. I think early in this game, it's all about how will the Bengals come out, and they cannot make mistakes. If they do, then the Browns, I do think, pose some problems with Denzel. And, I think at that point they'll mirror Chase. The Bengals will say, well, let's get the ball to Chase. Let's get the ball to Chase. And that's where you want them. I think what you want is the Bengals to try to force feed Jamar Chase. That if I'm a Browns fan.
Yeah.
I'm a realistic Bengal fan. I know Jamar Chase is going to get his yards throughout the season. I don't care what games it comes in.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that they should be doing is spreading the ball around to all of these different weapons. And Chase Brown. Even if it's not in the run game, throwing it to Chase Brown out in the flat, challenging Carson Schlesinger, challenging linebackers, challenging all of these guys that are in new spots and different things like that. So I do think the Bengals win by 10-plus points. A lot like last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll give mine. I probably won't feel as confident about a game throughout the rest of the season as I will with this one. But I do just think with how the Browns have come out against the Bengals early under Kevin Stefanski, if they can get the run game going, I think that's the most important thing. If they can get that run game going, establish the play action, and as you said, not make mistakes, let that defense do what they can do. I think they can keep the game close, and if they can keep the game close, I think that means that they can win it. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm, of course, really looking forward to it. First game of the season. For a British fan, the NFL off-season feels like just a lifetime. We're used to a few weeks turnaround with our sport. So when you've got to wait 8 months, you really are being put through the ringer by the NFL. But we finally made it. We're finally back. Zim, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Before you go, let anyone know where they can find you on Twitter, or obviously the podcast you do as well with Cincinnati.
Yes, sir. I do a podcast with my partner Ace. His name is New Stripe City on Twitter. We do a podcast. I'm Zim Whodey on all social media platforms. I also have a website if you're into Bengals merch and an Ohio friend. ZimWhodey.com is really, really dope. I think I make some of the best merch in the history of football.
Do you make some good merch?
ZimWhodey.com. I'm telling you, I do not like Bengals gear in the shop. I think I make really good merch, so check that out. But yeah, Twitter, Instagram, it's the same, Zim Whodey. But yep, that's it.
Well, thank you again for joining me. Good luck this season, and I'm sure you will. But enjoy the game on Sunday.
Good luck to you. Stay healthy.
Cheers, bro. You too.
Cheers.